Good morning, MBA fans and friends. Nicole Wilson, Vice President of Economic Development, here again for another edition of our Investor Spotlight. I'm so pleased today to be joined by Pavel Konecny, President and CEO of TriStar Trust. So I always like to start with, what is your why? So why are you here in Midland? Why are you with TriStar Trust? And what really resonates with you about both of those things?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
That was a great question, because it was like, when I thought about it, it wasn't about me finding Midland, it was Midland finding me. I'm actually from Czech Republic, and I was recruited to play tennis at Northwood University. And this was in the early 90s, so I had no idea where Midland was. And once somebody told me that Midland is 2 hours north of Detroit, and my first reaction was, well, it's kind of amusing that somebody does distances in hours. So I had to try to figure out, like, what happened to kilometers or miles, just give me a distance. What is 2 hours north of Detroit? So that should have been my first clue, because I had absolutely no idea. The second one was when I was flying over, before I flew over, I was trying to figure out, like, what the weather's gonna be like. And so if you go around the globe and you identify the latitude of where Midland is, and you go around the globe to Europe to try to figure out, where it is, it's central Italy. It's warm in central Italy.
It is.
So when I came here, I was came here in November, and I was quite surprised when I found out that, 3 weeks later we had like a foot of snow, because in central Italy it was just warm. So, but I have since embraced it, got used to it, and I actually love the community. As it relates to TriStar and just the financial industry, I spent the first 20 years, almost 20 years at Chemical Bank. I was in the Treasury Department. The last 10 years I was a corporate treasurer at Chemical Bank. And right out of college, I knew that I had to go in the areas of where you deal with numbers. So whether it's math, basically math, finance. And so when I joined Chemical Bank, it was, as I said, 20 years. And then with all the changes that took place, I joined TriStar. Been there almost 7 years, and I haven't looked back.
Wonderful. So I know core values are a big deal at TriStar Trust. You hold very true to them. And so caring, harmony, integrity, objectivity, and enthusiasm, right, are your core values. So what I like to ask is, how do you personally kind of embody or put those kind of at the forefront of your work?
As part of this community, I've always felt that it's important to have those values. We're trying really hard to be conscious business, and we follow the concepts of conscious capitalism, and those values resonate throughout that movement.
Sure.
And we feel that as a business, we want to display those values consistently, because we are transparent, we are objective. We want to make sure that there's no hidden agenda, because we feel, we're not just business people, but we're also citizens, we're neighbors, and, we've got a reputation to uphold, and to do so, while running a business, I think is extremely important, because it just elevates everybody.
Certainly. So maybe take it to something that's more, maybe an easier question. So how many employees do you have over at TriStar Trust? How many?
So we've got, with TriStar, we're a wealth management company. We manage around $3 billion at this point. We've got 4 locations. Our main office at core is in Saginaw. Then we have our office in Midland. Then we have an office in Frankenmuth, and then we have an office in Lansing.
Okay.
And in Midland, we've got 23 employees in the downtown Midland office. We've got another 20 some in the Saginaw, and we have a handful in Frankenmuth. So all in all, in the Great Lakes Bay region, we've got over 50 employees.
Wonderful. So we talk a little bit about talent quite a bit here at the MBA. And one of the things we love about Midland, or we hear that young talent enjoys about Midland, is the accessibility of leadership in the Great Lakes Bay region, and Midland in particular. And part of that is the learning process and the knowledge transfer that happens. And so I'd love to know if you could tell me about an unanticipated challenge that you experienced in your career, or as you were kind of making your way, and where it forced you to kind of pivot or, learn something new, and kind of how you went about that.
I've never been a CEO of anything, including my house. And the transition from, as a treasurer and all the things that I did at Chemical Bank was very much hands-on. I was providing leadership, but I was still tinkering with things. I was managing money, I was analyzing things. When I transitioned to TriStar, I was the CFO and the Chief Investment Officer. So you're still touching and, you're still analyzing things, you're creating something. Then you transition to a position of CEO, and all of a sudden everybody else is doing the work. And you're really just providing direction, leadership, strategy and stuff like that. And that was a challenge for me because it's just not as tangible. And I struggled with it for a little bit, and the greatest thing is to have access, and as you mentioned, access to people who have the experience, who have done the job. I remember talking to Bill Staropoulos, and I said, how are you a CEO? What do you do as a CEO? And I don't exactly remember what he said, but it was just so straightforward, and it was very simple. And it's almost basically saying, hey, don't overcomplicate things. Just live your values, be transparent, provide that clean leadership, be objective, and things are going to work themselves out. And Bill is not the only one who I spoke to. I spoke to others as well. And so having that perspective from call it the senior leadership in this community, and have access to them, and they're more than happy, was incredibly useful to me.
That's wonderful. I appreciate that very much. It's one of the best parts, I think, about Midland as we talk about, leadership. So for sure. I always like to give an opportunity. Any news from the team, significant changes or headlines maybe that you'd like to share?
Yeah, we've, I thought about that. I thought about that question. I mean, when I started, we were managing 1.3 billion. We're at 3. When I started, I was the 37th employee. We have over 60 overall. So we've grown rapidly.
Absolutely.
And we're adding talent. And we're adding talent just not regionally. We're actually bringing people over from other communities. And one of the things I would like to highlight is we hired a young man. His name is Tyler Kirby. And he's an attorney. And he came to us from North Carolina, from Charlotte, North Carolina. And it was just a connection that he had with one of my colleagues. And, we constantly are looking for talent. And he's been working for Merrill Lynch and TIAA, which is a large money management companies. And he just reached out to us. And I cautioned him. I talked to him. We flew him up here just to show him. I said, listen, man, it was a shock to me when I got here from Czech Republic. I love the region. I think it's fantastic, but just be prepared. It's just a little different than North Carolina. So he came over. We spent 2-3 days with us, and he now works for us out of the Midland office. He's extremely smart, extremely bright, has that southern charm to him. Says yes sir, yes ma'am, constantly. It's cool, but he's a one heck of an addition to the team.
That's wonderful.
And the other person that I always wanted to highlight there is, and a lot of kudos, Kevin Scorsone, who's our market director in the Midland. He was my colleague at Chemical Bank. That he came over and joined us at TriStar, moved his family from Saginaw and moved him to Midland. Basically he was very well connected in Saginaw, basically started from scratch. He just got promoted to senior vice president, and rightfully so. And he's made all the right connections here, and he's just doing a tremendous job for us.
Absolutely, we love Kevin. We have the opportunity to work with him frequently, so glad to have him in the area for sure. So I know you're not a native to Midland or to Michigan, but are there any hidden gems or your favorite, spot to spend your time? We talk about them in third places for us urbanists.
I consider myself a native. Well, let's face it. I came here when I was 18. I'm 51, so you do math. So I've been here long enough, and the community. I totally love the community, and the gems that I want to mention is they're not even hidden. But you know what? For community of our size to have the athletic facility, and I'm a jock. I love sports. To have the athletic facilities that we have in this town is incredible to me. Whether it's the looms, just so you can watch it, quality product. The tennis center over here, like every time I see it, I go, this is just amazing to me that we have a tennis center. The soccer complex, the softball fields. We've got ice. We've got everything that you can think of. I think that's fantastic. And there's another hidden gem. There's fantastic fishing around here, but I'm prohibited from saying where it is. Because us fishermen, we don't like to share that information.
That's fair. How about maybe a favorite restaurant, coffee shop? Where do you like to get a beer every now and again?
I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna. My son and I, we have this tradition, and it started a long time ago. I make him a point to pick him up from whether it was, and I don't remember exactly when we started doing it. I think it was when he was in kindergarten, but I make it a point to pick him up from school or a camp during the summer, every single Friday. And I got a pretty decent streak. Of the 52 Fridays or so, I'm in the high 40s.
Okay.
And I don't even know how it started, but we pick him up and we ended up at Big E's. And we sit at the bar. They know us by now. He orders some food. I have a beer, and we just sit there and we either have a conversation or don't have a conversation. I watch him sports on TV, but it's been a tradition. He's 12 now. I'm dreading the moment when he says, "Dad, this is not cool anymore." But for now, that's my favorite thing to do.
Right, until you get to those Friday football games. Yeah, so I'll be
Yeah, maybe.
Wonderful. Well, lastly, I think I'd like to ask, what's next for TriStar Trust? It sounds like you've done so much growth in the recent, history. What's next? Where do you see TriStar Trust going?
As I look at what our company does for the community, and I had this conversation with with one of the co-founders who started TriStar. It was Larry Preston, retired when I joined, and then Gene Pickleman retired at the end of 2023. And as a conscious company, we really pay attention to our communities, and we make an investment in our communities. And I realized that as a company, we're a wealth management company. We're never going to have the same economic impact of the size of Dow with the number of employees, or the economic impact that Chemical Bank used to have with all of the employees being in town. Our growth is obviously we're gonna continue to grow within the region, but we're probably gonna expand. We're gonna grow in the Greater Lansing area, and we're gonna even grow in other places, because I believe that our product is so good, and we have a proof of concept down in Lansing. It works. But as I was talking to Gene, I was like, listen, we're not gonna have thousands of employees in the Great Lakes Bay region. So how can we impact the region? And by growing and making more money, we have a pretty straight correlation between the money that we make and the money that we put back into the community. The other thing that we can help the community is not just money, but I'm very encouraging of our team members to get involved in the community, whether it's being on boards. Some of our younger colleagues are involved in MyPros here and YPN and other places. So our impact is gonna be, we growing our own people, and you're gonna see us more and more in the community, getting involved in a variety of different projects. We're gonna grow as a company, which you're gonna see our donations and our financial support is gonna grow. And we got a fantastic board that is very community focused. And so you're gonna see a lot of TriStar, whether it's in Midland, whether it's the Bay City, whether it's Saginaw, and the other places. So be ready.
Yeah, we're ready. We certainly love our colleagues and friends over at TriStar, and really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. And other than that, enjoy this winter weather.
Yeah, well, I'm still getting used to it, but
yeah,
not as bad anymore.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.